Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're going to be looking at our current bio range. Here today we have the Panoramic Pure Bio Stove, the Hampton Pure Bio Stove, and then the Hampton Wood Burner, which can optionally convert to a wood burning from a bio stove and switch between the two. There's also going to be a new model very shortly called the Hampton Vista 500 Pure Bio Stove as well. So currently all of our bio models come off the back of a wood burner. So the Hampton here was originally a wood burner model and has been reconfigured as a pure bio model, and same as the panoramic one here is also a wood version of this model. So we base them around the wood burner look. First thing to note, obviously, how the bio stove works in comparison to a normal wood unit. So a wood unit requires a full chimney, lots of regulations to go by, hearth, and can be obviously a rather big undertaking. The advantage of a bio stove, it doesn't require any of that. You can simply pop them in place, put in the bio fuel, and then off you go really. Really simple to get going, which helps a lot of people who don't want to pay for the installation costs or have the hassle of that and want it to go, or maybe want it to go in a position where a chimney is not going to be possible. So looking at the models here, as I said, they're based around wood burners. They're not sort of really mimicking and look cheap and flimsy. They are very close to being a wood burner. So looking at the two models here, it's very, very hard to tell the difference between the two. They both share exactly the same door, exactly the same handle, thick cast iron to give it the look. And you've got to start looking closely to really find the differences. And the main difference is the thickness of steel. You'll see it here, the bio stove's got a thinner steel, which is actually an advantage. So if you are comparing the options of converting a wood burner to a bio and having that option, my suggestion will always be really ask yourself, are you going to convert it to a wood burner? Because if you are going to want primarily or just envisage it being a bio stove, I would go for the pure bio unit because it works better, because it's doing what it's designed to do, whereas a wood burner converted to a bio stove does work nicely, as you can see here, but it's trying to be two things. You are best off having, for one thing, do what it's designed for. And the reason being, it's got permanent airflow around the base of the stove, the thinner steel, which does actually help get the heat into the room more, because these aren't just for show. They do actually give out a good amount of heat as well. So if you are wanting it as looks and for heat as well, the pure bio is a really good option to go for. Obviously, if you did want to eventually maybe go for a wood unit in the future, I don't know if you're going to unblock a chimney or move to a house where you are going to get a wood burner, the advantage is the bio doesn't cause the stove any wear. So you could convert that model eventually into a wood burner unit, put the baffle plate in, all the bricks, connect it up and get it fitted, and it'll be a wood burning stove. The disadvantage of having it as is, you are going to have to fully loosen off the handle just to give the permanent airflow into the stove. And like I said, it is a little bit thicker, the steel. It just still gets nice and warm, but not quite as quickly as the thinner steel. We think it's got a good balance between thin steel and not too thin. Some of them are real wafer thin, flimsy, but these are still, I'll tap it, you can hear, hopefully you can hear them in the footage there, that it is still quite a thick steel. This is a panoramic bio model, slightly wider grill in here at the bottom, so it has got a slightly higher capacity, but they all give around roughly the similar output. This one here you might think is not going quite as much. It's actually been on for a number of hours, so it's actually starting to die down now, but I think you'll probably see some clips will slice in that show it when it's sort of fully at capacity and burning away nicely. What I've also done here is also set up a few chimney options, which is quite important, just to showcase how you can actually have it. So this one here, the Hampton Pure Bio, just put the standard meter length of flue on top. This should probably be if you're going into an existing chimney. You'd have the length of flue to give it the real effect of a wood burning stove. Also now included is a small metal plate. We'll take a quick picture of it. I haven't got it here on me right now. It's actually underneath there on the stove. A metal plate which actually screws on top of the stove to prevent the heat from rising up the chimney and being lost up the chimney. So it pushes it back down and creates a lot less heat loss up the chimney. This one here, the Panoramic Bio, just set up with a 90-degree bend. We also sell the rosette, which goes on the wall, which gives it the effect of the flue exiting through the wall. Again, these now, the Bio one the Pure Bio one will also come with this little piece of steel top plate which goes underneath this collar, which again just prevents the heat from rising out onto the wall, helps it push more in, because they do give out a good amount of heat. When we first started developing the Bio models, I was even surprised at how much heat they gave out, because I looked at them many years ago when it was a gel. They were really rubbish, to be honest, but with how they are now, and the Bio boxes and the fuel which is being burnt in them, they really are an interesting alternative to a wood burning stove. I've always grown up with wood burning stoves and love them, and would always have one. But I also have a Bio stove in a room similar to this, which can't have a stove. And if you don't want hassle for it, they really are good, because they do give out a good amount of heat. They're not just for show, they give off a good flame pattern. You can get the logs in there as well to give it off that real effect. And they really are a good alternative and have a lot of advantages to them. Whilst we're here, if we forget, you might be looking at this bit here on the Panoramic Bio. We might do a separate video for the Panoramic stove anyway, but it's really just to show this piece here. This is only in place on this model because of the weight of the door. As mentioned, the doors are thick cast iron, the same ones which are used on the stove, whereas the body's a bit thinner. It's just so when you fully open the door, it eradicates the chance of the stove tipping forward in any way. So it kind of just balances it out, and it looks quite good as well. There's obviously the leveling bolts on the bottom, so if you've got on slightly unlevel surface, you can adjust that too. Positioning of the stove is always a question. There's no real rules around them. Obviously nothing overhanging to get onto the flames, but you want to keep a fair, reasonable distance away from a combustible material, similar to a double radiator, stuff like that, because that's roughly the heat they're going to be giving out. You don't have to have them on a half, you can have them sat straight on the floor. But if you want to be extra sure, you can get small little glass halves or put on a stone slab, just to give you that extra look and effect. Lighting them's very easy. You put the fuel in there, you make sure it's cool when it's being put in, never go back to relight it with the fuel, and then light it, and then off you go really. They're easy to manage, you know how much fuel you're going to burn. For example, when I use mine, a bottle costs around, I buy in about 12 bottles at a time, costs around, I think at the moment, about £3 a bottle. I know roughly that whole bottle is going to last around 3 hours, so if we've got the heating off, you just put it on for 3 hours, you know exactly what you're going to get from it really. Servicing wise, there isn't no servicing for it. It'll pretty much, I've had this one here in the middle in my house for about 6 months to a year. It looks brand new still. They don't give anywhere, no servicing, no chimney cleaning. There's a lot of benefits to them. I think that's it. But as always, I hope this helps. If there's any questions, do let us know. Thank you.